Hi, Ruby.
Oh, hey Gabby, what's up?
Nothing much. So I heard it's the 25th anniversary of our DreamWorks pal Shrek.
Ooh, that's right. Shrek is celebrating 25 years already.
Yep. And to honor the anniversary, we should do a positive review on it. How about we head over to that Nickelodeon studio that SpongeBob reopened last year?
A movie review, huh? Ooh, that sounds great. Kind of like what Sonic and Tails did before. So yeah, great idea, Gabs.
Excellent! Come on, I can find a nice background for the review. Now with that being said, let's get started.
Right behind you, Gabs. Hello, everyone. My name is Ruby Gillman.
And I'm Gabby.
And today we will be reviewing one of the most popular franchises from DreamWorks Animation, Shrek.
So, Ruby, I'm going to start with you. Since you've known our boss quite a while, what are your thoughts about his first movie?
Honestly, I really liked it. Shrek is one of those movies that never really gets old. The humor still works, the characters are memorable, and it has a lot more heart than people expect.
Well, as for me and the Gabby Cats can definitely see why Shrek became such a huge classic. The movie was funny, creative, and honestly pretty different from a lot of animated movies that came out around that time. No wonder why people find this part of their childhoods.
Shrek was released in theaters on May 18, 2001 by DreamWorks Pictures through DreamWorks Distribution and PDI. As of 2016, when NBC Universal, or Comcast, bought the rights to DreamWorks Animation, it is now currently distributed by Universal Pictures.
In the movie, we got Shrek himself, Donkey, Princess Fiona, and the main antagonist, Lord Farquaad. Shrek is an iconic ogre that everyone loves, and he is voiced by the Austin Powers and Wayne's World star, Mike Myers. The memes, the attitude, and the way he goes from being this grumpy loner to someone who actually opens up and cares about others is what really makes him such a memorable character. He may act rude sometimes, but deep down, he's honestly a good person who just wanted peace in his swamp.
Now, as for Donkey, he was probably the funniest character in the whole movie. He is voiced by the Beverly Hills Cop and Coming to America star, Eddie Murphy. He never stops talking, he's always full of energy, and somehow he always finds a way to make every scene more entertaining. Even though he annoyed Shrek a lot, you could tell he genuinely cared about him and wanted to be his friend. Honestly, without Donkey, the movie wouldn't have felt the same at all. And Fiona was great too. I liked that she wasn't written as some weak princess waiting around to be rescued. She actually had personality, confidence, and knew how to handle herself in dangerous situations. She was married with Shrek as her true love by the end of the movie, and I honestly thought their relationship was really sweet because they accepted each other for who they truly were. And she's voiced by Cameron Diaz, who was also in The Mask and Charlie's Angels.
Now, let's get to this jerk. Lord Farquaad, voiced by John Lithgow. You people may know him as Eric Quaylen from Cliffhanger starring Sylvester Stallone, and Jean-Claude from Rugrats in Paris, the movie. This man was seriously doing the absolute most throughout the whole movie. He wanted everything to be perfect, but treated everybody around him terribly. He forced fairy tale creatures out of their homes, ordered people around like they were nothing, and only wanted to marry Fiona just so he could become king. And honestly, the funniest part is how this tiny little man acted so tough all the time.
But we will admit, he was still a memorable villain. Every time he showed up on screen, you already knew something ridiculous was about to happen. Here, we can't forget about the fairy tale creatures either. There's the big bad wolf and the three little pigs, the gingerbread man, Pinocchio, the three blind mice, and so many other classic fairy tale characters all living together after Lord Farquaad forced them out of their homes. They added so much personality and chaos to the movie. Even though some of them didn't get a ton of screen time, they were still really memorable and funny whenever they appeared. They did, however, make more screen time on the sequels and shorts.
Oh, and we definitely gotta talk about Dragon, or Elizabeth, as Donkey later calls her. At first, she looked really terrifying guarding Fiona's castle, especially with the fire breathing and the giant roar. I honestly thought she was just going to be a scary monster for the whole movie. But then the movie completely surprised everybody by making her fall in love with Donkey of all people. Donkey went from screaming and running for his life to somehow getting a dragon girlfriend.
And now we get to the sequels. First, we start with Shrek 2. This introduced one of the most iconic cats of all time, Puss in Boots. This was basically how the trio gang was formed, with Shrek and Donkey. And Puss was voiced by Antonio Banderas, who you may know from The Mask of Zorro and the Spy Kids movies, alongside Princess Fiona's parents, King Harold and Queen Lillian. Of course, King Harold was turned into a frog at the end of the second movie. King Harold was voiced by John Cleese, while Queen Lillian was voiced by Julie Andrews.
Now we get to the two bad villains, the fairy godmother and Prince Charming. And honestly, these two caused so much drama throughout the second movie. The fairy godmother acted all sweet and magical on the outside, but behind the scenes, she was manipulative and wanted everything to go her way. She wanted Fiona to marry her son instead of Shrek so they could become the perfect royal family.
Yeah, she was basically controlling everybody in the entire movie.
Exactly. And Prince Charming? Mr. Fancy Pants really thought Fiona was automatically gonna fall in love with him just because he looked handsome. Meanwhile, Fiona was already happy with Shrek.
But I will say this, her big musical performance near the end of the movie was honestly iconic. Holding out for a hero still goes hard to this day. The fairy godmother was voiced by Jennifer Saunders, and Prince Charming was voiced by Rupert Everett. Some of you may know him as Dr. Claw from the 1999 live-action film Inspector Gadget, and Sloane Blackburn from the 2002 Nickelodeon movie The Wild Thornberrys movie.
And finally, we can never forget about the Dronkies. Donkey and Elizabeth's children. They made their appearance at the post-credits until they have some screen time in Shrek the Third.
Speaking of Shrek the Third, here it is, right now. This is probably the most mixed movie in the franchise for a lot of people. I don't think it was terrible, but compared to the first two movies, it definitely felt weaker in some areas. The story mostly focuses on Shrek trying to find Arthur, or Artie, so he can become the next king of Far, Far Away. And Artie was voiced by Justin Timberlake, which honestly surprised me the first time I found out. But Arthur seems like a nice guy and a true friend to the trio gang.
And can we please talk about Prince Charming for a second? Because this guy seriously got on my nerves in the third movie. That bully spent almost the entire movie whining, complaining, and acting like the whole world owed him something just because he didn't get Fiona. And then he starts recruiting all the fairy tale villains to take over Far, Far Away because his acting career failed. And not only that, he nearly killed Artie and Shrek with his sword.
And honestly, Rapunzel made me really mad. Fiona trusted her as one of her closest friends, and then she suddenly betrays Fiona and joins Prince Charming's side? Like, seriously? That was such a fake move. Fiona, Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and the others were all sticking together. And Rapunzel just switched sides because she wanted to be with Charming. And the worst part is that she acted all innocent before revealing the betrayal. I'm sorry, but if your friends are being threatened and attacked, that is not the time to turn against them. Thankfully, Fiona, the princesses, and Queen Lillian still fought back and handled the situation themselves instead of giving up.
And then there's Merlin, the wizard that Artie and Shrek go to for help. Honestly, I thought he was a pretty decent character overall. He wasn't really a serious or powerful wizard all the time like people expected. Half the time, he seemed confused or his magic would mess up completely. But I think that's what made him entertaining. He brought some goofy humor to the movie without trying too hard. And despite his weird personality, he still helped Artie gain confidence in himself near the end of the movie. I also like the scene where his magic accidentally switched Donkey and Puss into each other's bodies. That whole situation was hilarious. Overall, Merlin wasn't one of my favorite characters in the franchise, but I still think he fit the chaotic energy of the third movie pretty well.
And honestly, one of the saddest moments in the third movie was the death of King Harold. Even though he started off harsh and didn't fully accept Shrek at first, you could tell over time that he truly cared about Fiona and his family. His final scene felt really emotional because he passed the responsibility of becoming king down to Shrek before peacefully passing away. And when he turned back into his frog form one last time before dying, yeah, that scene was genuinely heartbreaking. It also showed how much his character changed since Shrek 2. He went from trying to separate Fiona and Shrek to finally accepting Shrek as part of the family. It was honestly one of the more serious and emotional moments in the entire franchise.
And of course, we gotta talk about the ogre babies. Fergus, Farkle, and Felicia. Honestly, they were one of the cutest parts of the film. At first, Shrek was completely nervous about becoming a father, which honestly made sense because he was scared of messing things up. But once the babies were finally born, you could tell how much Shrek and Fiona cared about them. And honestly, Shrek's nightmare about the ogre babies were hilarious and weird at the same time.
And finally, we get to Shrek Forever After, also known as Shrek Forever After: The Final Chapter. Honestly, this movie felt way more emotional compared to the third one. Yeah, this one focused more on Shrek struggling with his life and missing the days when he used to feel feared and independent, which leads to him making the worst decision possible by signing Rumpelstiltskin's deal. Yeah, definitely a big mistake. And Rumpelstiltskin was honestly a pretty crazy villain. This dude completely took over Far, Far Away and turned Shrek's world upside down just because he wanted power. I will say though, he may acted goofy sometimes, but he was also manipulative and dangerous.
Pinocchio was right about that elf. Shrek should have never signed that contract with Grumple Stinky Pants. The second Shrek made that deal, everything in his life completely fell apart. Far, Far Away became a mess. His friends didn't even remember him anymore. And Fiona ended up suffering because of it too. And that made us feel bad for Shrek even more. Honestly, that little scammer was one of the most manipulative villains in the entire franchise. Thankfully, Shrek eventually realized how important his family and friends truly were before it was too late. Things were back to normal at the end, and he continued his family life.
And honestly, one of the coolest parts of the fourth movie was the Ogre Resistance. Fiona ended up becoming the leader of the Resistance, which honestly showed how strong and independent she really was in the alternate timeline. I liked seeing all the ogres work together as a team instead of just being feared by everybody. They had camps hidden in the forest, planned attacks against Rumpelstiltskin's guards, and refused to give up even when things looked hopeless. It also made the alternate world feel more serious and dangerous compared to the other Shrek movies. Plus, seeing Shrek slowly earn the Resistance's trust throughout the movie was pretty satisfying too. Brogan, also known as the ogre leader of the underground resistance, is voiced by John Hamm. Gretchen is voiced by Jane Lynch, and Chef Cookie is voiced by Craig Robinson, way before Mr. Shark from The Bad Guys.
Now we get to the spin-offs, Puss in Boots. This movie came out in 2011, and its sequel, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, was released in 2022, the year before Ruby Gillman's movie came out. This movie focuses on Puss before he officially joined Shrek's group, showing his adventures as a legendary outlaw hero. The main plot follows Puss trying to find the magical beans that can lead to the giant's castle and the golden goose. The main characters helping Puss are Kitty Softpaws and Humpty Dumpty. Kitty was clever, skilled, and honestly a really fun partner for Puss throughout the movie. Meanwhile, Humpty Dumpty was more complicated because even though he was Puss's childhood friend, he also manipulated and betrayed him later in the story. Although, Humpty Dumpty was voiced by Zach Galifianakis, who many people know him as Alan from the Hangover trilogy.
And now we get to Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which is one of the best movies in the entire Shrek franchise. The story focuses on Puss finding out that he only has one life left after wasting the rest of his 9 lives on reckless adventures. Because of that, he goes on a journey to find the magical Last Wish star so he can restore his lives before it's too late. But throughout the movie, Puss starts learning that life actually matters more because it doesn't last forever. And I gotta say, that message hit surprisingly hard for a Shrek spin-off movie. Now let's talk about the villains, because wow, these villains were intense. First, there's Big Jack Horner. At first, he acts goofy and funny, but underneath all that comedy, this dude was completely selfish and evil. He wanted all the magic in the world just for himself and didn't care who got hurt in the process. And honestly, some of the funniest dark humor in the movie came from him and his crew. But then there's Death. And I'm not gonna lie, this wolf was terrifying. The moment he first appeared with the whistling sound gave me chills. Unlike most villains in the franchise, Death didn't act goofy or silly most of the time. He was calm, serious, and genuinely intimidating every time he showed up on screen. He wasn't just chasing Puss physically either. He represented Puss's fear of dying after wasting so many lives. And honestly, that's what made him such an amazing villain. He felt personal. Every fight between Puss and Death felt intense because you could tell Puss was truly scared for once, instead of acting fearless all the time. By the end of the movie, Puss finally learns to appreciate the one life he still has left, instead of taking it for granted. I thought that was a really powerful ending.
And now we get to the teaser for Shrek 5. And yeah, fans have had some really mixed reactions to it online. I can understand why people are less excited because of its designs. And I know it has been such a long time since the last main Shrek movie came out. Seeing Shrek, Fiona, Donkey, and the gang return again is definitely nostalgic. And it's good that Felicia is all grown up. But as far as the design fixing goes, we're also wondering how will Farkle and Fergus look like in the movie? However, they did reveal them as their concept art on Shrek's onion carriage at the 99th annual Macy's Thanksgiving Parade.
And now we get to the holiday specials. Shrek the Halls in 2007. Honestly, I thought this was a pretty fun little Christmas special for Shrek fans. The main story focuses on Shrek trying to have the perfect Christmas with Fiona and the kids. But of course, everything starts going completely chaotic once Donkey and everybody else shows up at the swamp. I liked that the special still kept the same humor and energy from the movies while adding a cozy holiday feeling to it. And seeing Shrek slowly learn that Christmas is more about spending time with family and friends instead of making everything perfect was honestly a sweet message. Plus, Donkey being overly excited about literally everything during Christmas was pretty funny too.
And then we have Scared Shrekless, which is basically the Halloween special in 2010. Honestly, I thought this one was really entertaining because it mixed comedy with some surprisingly creepy moments. What I liked most was how each character got their own little horror-style story. Some were funny, some were weird, and a few scenes were actually kind of creepy for a Shrek special. Even when they did parodies of The Bride of Frankenstein, Psycho, and The Exorcist. Overall, both specials were fun side stories for fans of the franchise, especially during the holidays.
And finally, we get to some of the Shrek shorts and mini specials. Honestly, these were pretty fun little extras for fans of the franchise. First, there's Shrek in the Swamp Karaoke Dance Party, which was basically the characters singing and dancing together after the first movie ended. It was short, random, and chaotic. But honestly, that's what made it entertaining. Then there was my personal favorite, Far, Far Away Idol, which parodied singing competition shows like American Idol. Seeing all the fairy tale characters compete in a goofy singing contest was actually pretty funny. I also thought Donkey's Christmas Shrektacular was enjoyable because it focused more on Donkey and the other characters celebrating Christmas together with songs and holiday stories.
Then there's Puss in Boots, the Three Diablos, which focused on Puss protecting a princess while dealing with three little troublemaking kittens. Watching Puss slowly go from being annoyed by them to actually caring about them was honestly pretty wholesome. And finally, then there's The Pig Who Cried Werewolf, which honestly felt like another fun Halloween-style adventure. It had some creepy moments, but it still kept the same silly humor the franchise is known for. Overall, I think the shorts helped keep the Shrek franchise fun between the bigger movies, while also giving side characters more time to shine.
We have got to talk about the Shrek 4D ride, also known as the Ghost of Lord Farquaad. Honestly, this attraction was a huge part of a lot of people's childhoods at places like Universal Orlando Resort and Universal Studios Hollywood. The story basically takes place after the first Shrek movie, where Lord Farquaad somehow comes back as a ghost and tries to get revenge on Shrek and Fiona, which honestly sounds ridiculous, but in a fun way. The coolest part was definitely the 4D effects. The seats would move, water would spray at the audience, and there were moments where it actually felt like you were inside the adventure with Shrek and Donkey. And the dragon flying scenes were especially awesome in theaters because the movement effects made everything feel more intense and exciting. I also liked that the ride still kept the same humor and fast-paced energy from the movies, instead of feeling completely separate from the franchise. Even though the attraction is gone from some Universal parks now, a lot of fans still remember it as one of the most iconic DreamWorks theme park rides ever made.
And now we get to Shrek the Musical. We were really surprised by how well Shrek worked as a stage musical. The costumes and makeup were honestly really cool too. Seeing Shrek, Fiona, Donkey, and all the fairy tale characters brought to life on stage looked really creative and fun. We think Shrek the Musical became one of the better animated movie musicals because it still kept what made the original movie special while also adding its own fun style to it.
And now we get to the mainline video games. There were a lot of them back in the day. There were games based on the original movie and the sequels. Most of the games had action, puzzles, and teamwork with Shrek, Donkey, Fiona, Puss in Boots, and the other characters.
Here's the Shrek racing games. These were basically goofy kart racing games with Shrek characters. There's Smash and Crash Racing, Swamp Kart Speedway, and the Kai's personal favorite mobile game, Shrek Kart. You could race as Shrek, Donkey, Fiona, Puss in Boots, and more. The games were silly, chaotic, and honestly really fun for Shrek fans back then. Plus, seeing Shrek and the others driving around in funny vehicles was hilarious.
There's also Shrek Party Games. These games were full of mini games and silly challenges for friends and family to play together. Here's Shrek Party, Super Party, and Carnival Craze. You can also play as the main four and the other characters while competing in funny mini games. And they quite felt like Shrek versions of Mario Party. They may not have been perfect, but they were still fun to play with other people back then.
Here's a Shrek fighting game called Super Slam. This was a really crazy and funny fighting game. You can play as the first 10 main characters while trying to unlock the other 10 characters at the Mega Challenge mode. The battles were chaotic, goofy, and really fun with friends. Plus, seeing fairy tale characters fight each other like Super Smash Bros. And WWE wrestlers were really hilarious.
And now we get to the Shrek The Smile games. These were educational games made for younger kids. There was Dragon's Tale, Shrek the Third, Arthur's School Day Adventure, and Shrek Forever After. As for Dragon's Tale, VTech and DreamWorks did, however, stole some copyrighted music from other companies, like Nintendo, for example, once you're on the gameplay. As always for the V-Smile console, the games had simple activities like spelling, matching, learning words, puzzles, and little adventures with Shrek and the gang.
And now we get to the DreamWorks crossover racing games. Madagascar Karts, DreamWorks Superstar Karts, and DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing. Although Shrek is playable in Madagascar Karts. And they mixed Shrek characters with other DreamWorks characters in the same racing game. You could race as the main four, and even characters from Madagascar, How to Train Your Dragon, and other movies. The games were colorful, silly, and full of crazy tracks and power-ups, just like in the Mario Kart franchise. It was really cool seeing all these different DreamWorks characters racing together in one game.
In other media, there are a lot of Shrek cameos. He made a cameo in episode 4 of the Netflix series starring Mike Myers himself, the Pentaveret. Donkey even appears in the episode of Father of the Pride called Donkey. Gingy, Shrek, Donkey, and Pinocchio both made their cameos on The Last Wish.
And in my 2025 live-action animated hybrid movie, when me, Gigi, and the Gabby cats were on our way to Cat Francisco, or San Francisco, we went to Universal Studios and took a selfie with Shrek.
Then, Shrek, Donkey, and Fiona appeared in the late 2022 DreamWorks intro during Puss in Boots' The Last Wish. Gingy would later get added to the intro during Dogman. Puss appeared in the opening sequence for Trolls Band Together.
Oh, and here's a fun fact. Back in 2002, Shrek won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature at the Academy Awards. What's even cooler is that it was the very first year the Academy had a Best Animated Feature category. It beats out Pixar's Monsters, Inc. and Nickelodeon's Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius to win the award. Oh, and here's another cool thing that happened in 2002. Shrek also won Favorite Voice from an Animated Movie at the 15th Annual Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards. The award went to Eddie Murphy for his role as Donkey. And I gotta say, that makes sense, because Donkey had some of the funniest lines in the whole movie. The category also included Mike Myers as Shrek, Cameron Diaz as Fiona, and Billy Crystal as Mike Wazowski from Monsters, Inc. It's a pretty tough competition.
Before we close this special review off, I wanted to mention the re-releases. On April 12, 2024, Shrek 2 came back to theaters for its 20th anniversary. And this year, the first movie was recently re-released in theaters for its 25th anniversary. I think that's really cool because a lot of people who grew up with these first two movies get a chance to see them in theaters again, and younger fans get to experience them for the first time on the big screen. And let's be honest, watching Shrek, Donkey, Fiona, and Puss in Boots in a movie theater just feels different.
So, what's our positive score on this iconic DreamWorks franchise? Easy as pie.
This definitely gets a solid 10 out of 10. Despite some flaws and a few weaker entries in the franchise, overall, Shrek is still one of the most iconic and the greatest animated franchises of all time. The memes, the merchandise, and the adventures helped make Shrek a huge part of pop culture.
Well, everyone, that concludes on our thoughts on Shrek. I hope all of you enjoyed it. Sorry if this review was long. We thought about doing something special for our beloved Ogre's 25th anniversary. If you guys have a favorite moment from the movies or some favorite memes, let us know in the comments below. This is Gabby.
And this is your teenage Kraken, Ruby Gillman, signing off. And we will see you all on the next review or rant. Peace out, land creatures.
Well, Ruby, looks like our review on our DreamWorks Ogre is done.
That's right, Gabs. Hopefully, Shrek will be pleased about what we did for him. That sure was a long review to celebrate his 25th anniversary.
Here they are, Shrek. They were the ones that reviewed on your franchise at my studio I brought back to life.
Well, words can't describe how proud I am for you ladies. Thank you guys so much.
You're very welcome, Shrek. We wanted to do it to honor your special day. Although it was quite long, but it was definitely worth it.
But the sad news is that Tom Kane passed away. I'm really gonna miss him. Just like how I miss Steve Harwell, who created All-Star for me.
Yeah, I'll miss him too. Just like my father of a creator, Steven Hillenburg. But I'm sure he's looking down on us from heaven.
Yeah, you could be right about that, SpongeBob.
But anyway, now that you girls have finished the review of my franchise, do you want to ride my 4D ride to honor my anniversary? We just had a grand reopening of it not too long ago, since you two were reviewing about me.
Wow, you brought it back? Man, seems like you and SpongeBob are getting busy with Universal Studios.
This is going to be my first time experiencing the 4D ride. I can't wait to see how it goes for me.
Well, today is your lucky day. Trust me, it is going to be a blast.
It's relocated at DreamWorks Land. Come on, let's go.
Here it is. Ain't she a beauty?
It sure is, Shrek. Looks exactly like the one from Hollywood. I can't wait to try it out again. It has been so long.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's ride on this sucker.